Second.
Cool.
All right. Welcome, Rhoda. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks so much for having me here, Samantha. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing excellent. I'm so happy you're here because I've just been a fan and I've been like following
Likewise.
from the background and just loving what you're doing. And I love what you're doing, and I'm very impressed about everything that you guys have to offer over at Mint Marketing.
Oh, thank you so much. Likewise. And with all of the big data sort of stuff that you've been doing, I do actually, there's a lot of stuff that you push out, and I'm like, I need to do a lot more research on that because it's a little bit beyond what perhaps we're used to doing here at Mint.
Oh, I'm sure it's right up your alley, and in fact, even better. So, thank you so much for coming. Everyone, please give her a warm welcome. You can also, just so you know, if you're on your phone or another device, you can check for questions there, and I'll also try to display questions as well. There is a slight delay, so the way that it shows up to everyone else is going to show up differently to us. So,
Okay.
what I'd like to start off is that for you to introduce yourself to everyone, let us know a little bit about yourself and your background and just whatever you'd like to share with us.
Sure. So my marketing journey probably started about 2009 when we ended up, like us as a family, we sort of ended up going into these online training and live training on how to do marketing. And it started off when, there was this chap in the pub and a man in the pub, and he said, oh, I have to pay so much taxes. And I mentioned something about, if you have your logo embroidered on your t-shirt and on your jacket and things like that, you can take that off as you can take that off your taxes because it's considered marketing. And he said, oh, you sound clever. Do you do this sort of work? And it was a bit of an accident where essentially they became my first sort of consultancy client. I didn't really have any background in running my own business at the time. And I showed them Facebook, at the time, 10 years ago, hardly anybody were using Facebook pages and things like that. So that's really kind of how I've started. Since then, I have my own business with my husband. So I helped with the marketing for his business. I think at the moment we're on about 30,000 followers now on Facebook. And then if we were to tally up all of the social media accounts that this business has got, it's a total of about 60,000 social media followers. And then I did my own massage business, and then I realized that I could do my own marketing for that. But also it wasn't exactly something that I could do full time because it hurt my hands. And then I got offered a job to do account management for a marketing agency, a digital marketing agency. And when I had this meeting, it was kind of like, oh, this is going to be your role. You're going to be speaking with a lot of clients, helping them give advice on their business. And I thought, okay, cool, that's fine. I'm comfortable with that. And then he said, lastly, you'll have to coordinate with our team in the Philippines. And I said to him, you do realize I speak fluent Filipino, right? And he didn't realize that. And so I kind of fell into the accounts and operations management role. At the time, I was only managing about 40 members, and within about 2.5 years, I was managing close to 60 to 70 plus team members towards the end of my role there. So I worked my way up to chief operations. then I became a consultant working with massive corporations. And then I realized that it wasn't really for me. I just felt a little bit lost, I think, not having a team there like I used to have. So then I started really pushing for my agency, which is Miint Marketing, and that's Miint with a double I. So yeah, that's kind of like a condensed version. It might feel like a long time talking through that, but that's kind of how it started really to where it is now.
Wow, I just love that. You have such a diverse background. And I agree. I knew someone who did massage therapy who had to get surgery eventually for carpal
Right.
tunnel on her arms. And I'm just like to say, I'm so happy and proud of you that you went through this journey to
Thank
now
you.
have your own agency. I mean, that's incredible. And how this company says, oh, we want to work with the Philippines, and the fact that you speak natively that language is, I'm just so happy that everything aligned exactly the way that it should be. So
Exactly.
that's just incredible. Thank you so much for sharing your background. And now, before we get into some of the other questions, I want to ask more about Miint Marketing, what you guys offer. I can also share, the website on the screen, among many other things. But tell us about Miint Marketing, and what makes you stand out from the rest.
So what I would say, so firstly, what we focus on in Miint Marketing is SEO, social media, website builds, and branding. So those are probably the four key services that we offer. In terms of what helps us stand out, I think that what helps us stand out is the fact that we don't hide about the fact that we have team members 7,000 miles away. I find that there's a lot of agencies out there who would probably not want their clients to learn that the majority of their operations is based in the Philippines. So there's a lot of massive brands over here in the UK, and I'm talking multi-billion pound companies who, they say everything in-house, but the reality is the implementation is being done by the same team members who might live in Indonesia, Thailand, India, Philippines. We're not shy about that. And of course, it makes it easy for me to shout about it with me being Filipino. But equally, I think that if we are being upfront and honest about it, and all the things that the team members in the Philippines would be weak on, for example, cultural differences or any kind of not so much language barriers, but there's obviously certain slangs in the UK that nobody in the Philippines would necessarily understand. We will then filter that over here, and our prices for what they receive is very competitive. So, for example, our starting packages starts at about £300, which is potentially around about $350 maybe for those listening in America. And those package prices are about the same entry levels as other agencies. But because we have the capability to add more to that value, it means that we can deliver more of that quantity and quality work for our clients. So that's what I would say we're about as a company, and what sets us apart from the others.
That's an excellent answer. And I'd love to point out, to support exactly what you're saying. SEO, I feel, is so underrated. I don't think people realize how powerful SEO is.
Yeah,
It's like, and it's great that Miint Marketing is offering this service, because a lot of people, they just try to jump to Facebook ads, Google ads, and they forget about SEO. Whereas if it's built correctly with experts such as yourself, in agencies that know what they're doing, it's like you can get millions and millions. I could probably show some statistics of certain companies that have free traffic, literally. You know, they have free traffic because their SEO is built so well, that you could do that. And there's other things that can be done with that, such as you can have data events that capture all that organic traffic, which you could use to leverage towards the other paid media. So that's very powerful. I actually want to go to your website to, you know, have people take a look at some of the services that you provide, and then we'll go into that. Let's see. In which, by the way, guys, I'm going to post her Miint Marketing's website in, I'm sorry, her profile, so that you can connect with her for a free digital audit. So this is your website here. I see that you offer some SEO services, website, and social media. Could you, I guess maybe we can get into it later. It depends on what you feel comfortable with. If you like to go over each of the services, like a breakdown of each one, or like a high level overview.
I think a high level overview would be great for now. We are actually working on something really special from a digital marketing perspective. So in the background, we're building on a platform that will help particularly small businesses learn how to budget, how to spend their marketing. So, you know, do watch this space, because this is a website that we've had for many months now, and we are in the process of developing a new one, which will have the calculator that we've got in mind. We've created all of the logic for it, so I'd actually love to speak with other digital marketing agencies out there, because we'd love to have this tool be tested out by other agencies. So, and same with yourself, Samantha, if you'd like to trial it out in terms of the logic that we have on it. So for those who want to get in touch, then please feel free to just click through the complimentary consultation link, and then one of our team members will get in touch.
Absolutely. And I'd love to say that I really like this website a lot. You guys did an amazing job on that. And that's just a testament to, you know, professional businesses that have their stuff together. You guys clearly do. And this is when you guys do click on the complimentary consultation, a lot of people do come to the replay. So if you're watching the replay, we are going to post the links in the comments, but definitely connect with Rhoda to ask more questions. But when you click on the complimentary session, we have a couple of sessions here. And I guess it would be this option here, the full digital audit, or the which one would that be?
So it depends, really. So some businesses don't yet have any social media or anything like that. So if it's like just the website themselves, and it's a matter of assessing which keywords are going to be best, or if it's a matter of speed optimization, then a free website audit is probably going to be the best option. Whereas if you've already got other social media platforms live, then a full digital audit would be better for them.
Understood. Okay, so we'll come back to this so that we can remind others toward the end. But thank you for giving us a high level overview of what is being offered.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. So I guess what I'd like to talk about next is some of the topics that we were saying to discuss is digital marketing evolution. What are your thoughts on that in regards to the evolution of digital marketing?
I guess digital from sort of 10 years ago, I would say that that was probably the kind of beginning of the curve before it really kicked off in terms of places like Facebook and things, Facebook or LinkedIn, before it started becoming a lot more saturated. So I would say that 10 years ago, things like pages or groups were a lot more effective when it came to promoting your business. Whereas now it's it's probably just not as effective. And in order for it to work, you have to almost be relentless. You know, you have to have the quantity and the quality there. Whereas maybe 10 years ago, you could probably get away with posting once a week, and people might still get in contact, because at the time there was hardly anyone, there were hardly any other competitors, but the traffic that were going to those social media platforms were really high. What are your thoughts, Samantha? Would you agree with that? Or, you know, you're the data specialist, right? So you've probably got a lot more kind of solid facts and figures to share.
Oh no, your facts are dead on, and it's just amazing. So, I did pull some statistics. I was trying to find them in the UK, but this is just a prediction model. And as far as the validity of this, it is from the US. I was trying to find some statistics in the UK as well, but I'm pretty sure some US companies would love your services, because there's agencies all over the world, and I definitely highly recommend Mint Marketing. So here, to validate exactly what you're saying, this is just a forecast as well as a description of internet marketing versus traditional marketing. So this is, as you can see in the blue, was from 2020, and the dark blue is 2024, what it's projected. But even as of 2020, as you can see, $120 billion were spent, and there's only 62 billion spent on television. And as you can see, the numbers are much,
Wow.
much lower based on the others. So 153, a projection of 153 billion, I think more. I know this model was based on the historical growth over the last 5 years, but
Right.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be much more than that. So these numbers speak for itself. I
Mm.
mean, you can definitely pay for TV ads and things like that, but for a company, you know, it's like the typical Blockbuster story, where Blockbuster went out of business. I did a case study on that, where, you know, Netflix had Redbox and these other companies, and Blockbuster went bankrupt because they didn't adapt to change. So with
Yeah.
these companies, and then cinema as well, like movies, you know, they went through a slight slump because they were so used to advertising on TV and radio and all these other different outlets, and so these blockbuster films, they still made millions of dollars, but they didn't do as well because there was like a transitional period where they weren't really using internet. Now they are. So
Yeah.
absolutely, I 100% agree with you. And these statistics alone just show that all of the majority of advertising from small and large businesses are on the internet. And I actually have something else that I'll show later, to validate that fact.
Yeah.
So
I'd be really interested to see, maybe even from the same source, how different it was back in 2009, when Facebook really was, you know, right at the beginning of that kind of growth. Because then we can really see the gap between 2009 to 2020. And I would imagine that because of the pandemic as well, that it's added even more to that value in comparison to if we didn't have the pandemic.
absolutely, I agree to support. I think your mic is off.
Ooh,
Oh, there you go. I can hear you now.
yeah. So did you? So I was just saying, because of the pandemic, I think that it's added a couple more billion to that figure for 2020. So if we didn't have the pandemic, I wonder if it would be higher or lower. I would imagine that it would be lower if it weren't for the pandemic. That's just
Absolutely.
my opinion.
Abs- oh no, I agree with you on that. And I'm not just trying to agree with everything that you're saying. I definitely, yeah, because trust me, like I mean, it's like very much in alignment with what's out there.
Yeah.
Now, what you said
Right.
about Facebook, I remember seeing a study about that. There didn't used to be much competition, so you could spend a certain amount and not have to be as savvy when it comes to Facebook ads at a particular time. But now these days, being that so many people are spending, companies are or businesses are bidding against the same targeted audience. So if a company is into dog collars or pet toys or whatever the case may be, you may have 20 different businesses that are also advertising to the same group. So they need agencies such as yourself that will know what they're doing and know how to position these ads out in the sea of multiple different, companies. It's not as simple as just saying, hey, I'm going to throw these ads up and, all these customers are going to start flying at me. And a lot of people, they don't realize that when running ads, that when ads seem like they're not working as well, they're just looking at their own internal data, but they're not looking at what competitors are doing, what the value proposition is of those competitors and whatnot. So I agree with you. This is definitely much more competitive than it was before. And people need experts. Like, you can't really run your ads by yourself. I mean, you can try, but they're going to need an agency that's going to be able to have labor and to scale up these results.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now, do you have any other notes or thoughts on the evolution of digital marketing?
So, I mean, in terms of how it's evolved, I think I find it incredible how these ads affect the way that we work as a society. So, we've seen with like Cambridge Analytica, for example. I don't know if you've seen the documentary on that on Netflix.
I've heard about it. I've even come across the individual that used to do work with the data on that.
Really?
Yes,
That's
I
interesting.
was gonna. I can't give 100% details, but it was a new startup, and he, I think, was going to be a part of the company, but for whatever reason, I never moved forward with that opportunity. So
Right.
I've heard about it, but I've never actually delved deep into it. So hopefully, I can learn more about it from you.
Yeah, so I mean, I would just really recommend watching it because it does really it provides so much insight as to how much ads and um, how much external factors can truly affect our own behavior and the way that we would hold opinions of certain things. So I think that Facebook, as great as it is for businesses, we do also have to be mindful that everything that we see, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, does affect the way that we form our opinions. And so I don't think we had that issue 10 years ago, because 10 years ago it was just about businesses. Whereas now I think that how marketing or social media in particular has changed, and even Google's algorithms really, is based upon what you already want to look for. So then it creates almost like, you'd find that if you're interested in a particular topic, you'll find certain articles, like news articles and pop-up ads, to be along the same line of what your political or general beliefs might be, because of the way that the algorithms work. I think 10 years ago, we never used to have that, because why would Facebook put in an article in front of you that you disagree with, where you might likely come off of that and go, Facebook keeps flashing up stuff that I don't believe in. I'm going to go on YouTube and I'm going to type in the stuff that I want to listen to. Does that make sense? So it's not quite in marketing, but it is still in marketing, because really it is all the kind of sponsored ads and how the algorithms work that still affects who we are, what we might then buy, what we choose to do as part of our day to day. So, yeah.
It's what you're saying is so on point about the algorithms, and I think it's important for businesses to understand that when you're throwing ads up, there's a science behind it. Exactly what you said about behavioral patterns. Whereas TV and advertising, you bring up interesting points that I didn't really think about as deeply. So it's like definitely provoking me to think that when people watch ads on TV or they see things in newspapers, it's not really about behavioral patterns. And those newspapers and the TV, they don't really know specifically your behavioral patterns. So with our cell phone devices, it's actually quite scary. It's like a 1,000 point algorithm system on most platforms, such as whether you're married, single, how much money you make, what
Yeah.
type of content that you read. And based on all those points, as you had mentioned, oops, sorry, my
No
phone
worries.
rang. Okay, so the ads are delivered based on those behavioral patterns. So I think it's important for people to understand that is more than just about business. It's also, it seems like with this whole internet situation, it's about culture as well. That's why people can get canceled, or definitely the whole psychographical aspect of this, of understanding the psychology behind why people want to buy. So definitely thank you for bringing that up, because in order to realistically run ad campaigns, people, businesses should have a realistic expectation on how it works, and the way that you've described it is definitely on point. So the next question I wanted to ask was small versus marketing for small businesses versus large enterprise businesses. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think that with smaller companies, I do think they have a lot less to mess around with, and we're quite careful of this, because you will find some businesses who will want to work with an agency because they think it could be their last hurrah, and they just want to, they're looking for a savior, as it were, to kind of, this 1 month's worth of marketing is going to turn everything around. um, Unfortunately, life isn't quite like that, and marketing certainly doesn't. There may be some campaigns where things could turn around within a month, but the reality is, it can take a couple of months before you get a campaign right, as it were, as we call them. Whereas I find with much larger companies, they have a lot more money to mess around with. So, for example, one of the multi-billion-pound companies that I used to work with as a consultant, they would have hundreds of thousands of pounds of budget to push out one event. And they've already accepted it. They've already budgeted that maybe something like £20,000 would be wasted on just not wasted, but it's just going to be going towards testing. So, to then compare that for a business who's turning over six figures in a year, that there is no way that they've got that kind of money to mess around with. And I find that working with smaller companies for me is far more rewarding, because there is a sense of almost becoming part of that company's growth, which is not something that I experience when working with, massive fintech businesses or data companies, etc., etc. You probably have a bit more experience in this, Samantha, because you've been in this sort of data game for probably a lot longer than I have done. So, what have you found to be the most distinguished differences between working with the two?
Well, definitely, Rhoda, I consider you an expert of an expert. You're so brilliant. And I'm just, honored to be able to have this conversation with you. But you're
No, likewise.
amazing, okay? You're absolutely amazing. So now, in regards to I agree with you on that. A lot of companies that are small businesses, they're not going to have as much funding as a large business would have. But that's the beauty of, agencies such as yourself that can help businesses at that stage. And that's
Yeah.
the beauty of online marketing, because you can really do a lot of A/B testing on a smaller scale to see what works, and, scale out what's working, where you wouldn't have been able to do that with TV and advertising. Now, however, I will say that even if it's a large business and or one that has a lot of funding, because trust me, I seen this one company that spent like close to $1 million on ads and still weren't able to stabilize any, you know, acquisition
Wow.
costs. And it's because the guy that was doing the ads, he worked with a company, but he did other companies with marketing, but he himself never actually did the marketing. And so I tried to give them pointers on how to lower the cost, and it did work. um, if they were consistent with it, maybe it would have stayed that way. But definitely people don't realize you just can't get anyone to do these ads. And to your second point, in regards to small businesses, I do believe I pulled some statistics here from the Small Business Administration that it's definitely rewarding to build a company from a certain stage up to higher stages. And I think that's what larger companies lose over time. But the fact that since the 1970s, according to the Small Business Administration, I couldn't find it in the UK, but in the US, small businesses account for 66% of the jobs. So that's quite huge, and it's actually 99% of the overall business market. And among all of these other different stats. So as of now, well, I think when this was created, it employs 56.8 million. And I guess these are the nationwide numbers, is 28.8 million, in regards to, I guess they're doing these numbers from the US in comparison. So I'm not sure how they came up with these stats. I just got this off of the Small Business Administration site because I know that they're legitimate. So, and I agree with that, because there's a lot of businesses that come out, and it definitely can account for a lot of jobs, among many other things. And you just get like that at home feeling. So when companies become corporate, it's like, I believe that they lose a lot of different qualities, over time. So definitely small businesses are where it's at. And I think if a lot of people created more small businesses, then we could create, it's more than just looking for a job. It's just, people that they can create their own opportunities and have companies such as Mint Marketing come in and help scale things out.
Yeah, those are really useful graphs, actually, Samantha. Thank you very much for preparing, being a lot more prepared than myself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so definitely, I'm definitely for small businesses, because I feel like with small businesses, you get an opportunity to grow with a company, and you can really feel proud of yourself because you're taking something virtually from of virtually a place that isn't ideal, and really scaling it up. And that shows the power of a company, because the impact that marketing has on a company in the first 5 years is really what establishes a company to come. Like, you are in companies such as yourself, Mint Marketing, are foundation builders, where you're building out companies, their revenue and their foundation, presence, branding, advertising, and getting it out to the masses. And from that, companies are going to be able to grow on that foundation. And I think that's something to be incredibly proud of.
Thank you. I find as well, I just wanted to add to the difference between the two. I do find that working with larger companies, because they've come from such corporate backgrounds, or the people that would be the decision makers or your main points of contacts have come from really high levels of high level positions within the businesses that they're working in, that there's a lot more ego involved, I find, working with larger companies. Is that something that you found as well, Samantha? But if you were to compare the two, because I find small companies are like, yeah, we admit we don't know what we're doing when it comes to marketing, whereas companies that are a bit bigger, certainly, the multi-billion or the kind of 8-figure companies that you might work with, there's a lot more resistance, and actually that resistance creates so much setback that even if you had the perfect marketing plan for them, because of the red tape, it holds everything back in terms of implementing those changes. I don't know, maybe that's a reflection, obviously, of how I've handled things and how I've experienced working with larger companies. But yeah, is that something you've experienced before?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've even experienced it recently. I think, for example, there was a streaming platform that was supposed to be coming out, and there was a really well-known streaming platform company that I was looking at, and I had an opportunity through a referral of the CEO to get an opportunity, but I didn't take it because I just prefer to work with smaller companies because that's where you can really shine. Like, I'm all about the hard work.
Yeah.
I guess it's like, shiny syndrome. The people that have shiny syndrome, they want to jump on the bandwagon of what's already working versus like getting in there, getting your hands dirty, and really showing what you could do by building a company from a smaller stage to a
Yeah.
larger stage. And so, yeah, even though the streaming platforms didn't work out for me, I'm not gonna give up, but it's just like I still wouldn't change that. I would rather work with that. And also, you don't really have as much creative control. Another thing I experienced, I'm not really like a business owner like you. I'm learning how to create a business. Like I totally need to learn that. Like, and that just goes to show not everybody is meant to run a business, because if I did, then I would have done it. I'm more like a consultant.
You just pick it up as you go along, Samantha.
Yes, I don't really, it would drive me crazy, especially having to deal with different personalities, which I am
Yeah.
learning that. But that's another thing too. You don't really have as much creative control. I've had instances where people have taken credit for the work that I've done. So that's why I would just prefer to be a consultant, because I feel like people, they respect me more. They
Yeah.
look at me more on a high level. Just for some reason, when people see employee, they just view you like, and not all companies do this, but I'm just saying, like, when you're working as an employee, it's just for some reason they don't really see you as that. And besides, some of the most talented marketers, such as yourself, have their own agency, have their own company. So if someone has the ability to amass, wealth and growth, they're not really going to settle for like a salary. But I 100% agree with you. There's more room to grow. Everything is like cosmogony, like it's just in the beginning stages. Is the Big Bang Theory. Anything can
Yeah.
go when you're working with small businesses, and you have the ability to be fluid and really show what you can do. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I'm glad that that is a typical trend working with bigger companies, and I guess there's a reason why. I was making a lot more money as a consultant in terms of what I was taking home. Obviously, Miint is a startup, so at the same time, I've got a lot more overheads than I used to have. But at the same time, working as a consultant, it's like you have to make sure that every second counts for the day rate that they're paying you for, because it's not easy to secure a gig working for massive companies, right? There's a huge amount of red tape to go through, lots of I just feel like you have to jump through lots of hoops. I guess I was really only doing that for about a year, so it wasn't really. I don't really think my experience is an accurate representation of what that life could have been, because I only did it for a set amount of time. In fact, it was less than that. It was 6 months, and then the first 6 months that I went into consultancy, I did a lot of free work because I had just left my job as chief operations for the previous agency. So yeah, all of these experiences adds towards, like what it is now. And so, one thing I will say, Samantha, is, if you've got that kind of fire in your belly, just go for it.
Well, I'm a firm believer, everything's not for everybody. I mean, I can definitely try, but I definitely think with your agency, you can definitely make, really scale out more because it's, like from a data perspective, you're even though you can work with team members and outsource as a consultant, it's just not the same as an agency. There's definitely more prestige. There's a trust factor there as well. So I think having an agency is the way to go, and definitely being able to pull together all of these talented individuals that work with your company. As a matter of fact, would you like to talk about the different team members that you have, what there's, what they have to offer to potential clients and prospects out there?
Yeah, of course. So I'm actually really proud of the team that we've got right now. Some real interesting characters, Samantha. So when you were saying about, dealing with lots of different personalities, I totally understand. We have a development director, Phoebe Liebenberg. We've got our business director, Jay Watkin, who's been a friend of mine for the last sort of, well, we've known each other for about 15 years now, and we've been friends for about 10 years. So I think that when it comes to working with people that you've got lots of history with as friends, it does certainly add a different type of dynamic towards the company, because we can be really upfront about it without having to be overly professional. Equally, we realize that we can't always behave like we do in front of perhaps other team members, because it's like arguing with a friend. You're not going to kind of hold back because you're not worried about what you might end up saying. And then a couple of other team members, senior management team based in the Philippines. We've got Maxine, who I worked with at the previous agency. She's absolutely brilliant. When we used to work together when I was managing a much larger team. She used to manage 50 team members. So Maxine reported to me as head of operations, and whatever processes that needed to be done, all I needed to do was to tell her what it was that I needed to do, and she'll be able to create that process for the company, and that's what she's doing for us now. Then we've got Charles Mendoza, who is our kind of super expert when it comes to SEO. So when it comes to keeping tabs of any Google algorithm changes, he's our man. We kind of rely on him to give us kind of like the training, as it were, to make sure that we're providing our clients the right type of information. And my right-hand lady, May, who is our business manager. So she helps out with all of the administration bits and pieces for the company. So I think we've got at the moment about maybe 15 team members based in the Philippines. So some of them who've just come on board are part-time. So we've got like a curation specialist. So they look at like conversion rate optimization, the user experience, the user interfaces, that sort of thing. And all we're doing here is that when the work comes back to the UK, because obviously we manage it all down here, we'll then ensure that it is demonstrated and communicated in the best way possible for the client. And again, this goes back to the cultural differences, because one of the wordings that might come back is this page is dead. It is like one of the terminologies that they came back with as a kind of analysis for that page. Now, what they mean is that this page isn't being utilized, and we have to then bring Britishifying, like, you know, the sort of work that they do to make sure that it's suitable for the client. So that's the piece that is quite interesting, working with our team members. And obviously, based on the work that they deliver for us, we just return we return it back to them with that feedback to sort of say, you know, that this isn't how we would word it. And it's exactly the same thing, but it's just minor differences, you know, going back to kind of NLP and neurolinguistics programming type of stuff. You have to just think about how it's interpreted because of the words that you say and how the other person might be feeling based on how it was communicated. So sorry, that was a winded answer.
Oh no, that's perfect. I'm just more of a listener. I love to listen. But yeah, I think that's great. And what stands out and what I love about what you said is that you trust everyone that you work with. You've worked with them before, and that's something that could be with other agencies. It's just like no one really know. They may not really know people as well, but you seem like you have a tight knit family type of environment of people that you've trust, that you've worked with before. They absolutely have a proven background, and that says a lot about you as a person. You know, the fact that you were able to establish relationships and have people come on board to work with you, and that stands out a lot. I think that's very important because when you're just going to any agency, you know, you don't really know the people, you don't really know what type of culture that they have, and that stands out to me about Mint Marketing, the fact that it's like a family situation. Now, I did want to say, if anyone's coming on the replay, um, then make sure to tag Rhoda if you have questions. Even if you didn't attend live, you can definitely still ask your questions. Just tag her name. Also, you can also go to her profile, in which I will post a link in the comments to her profile. You can also search for her by name, which is displayed. So yeah, so definitely don't be shy. If you want to ask a question, feel free to do so, even if it is the replay. So now I do want to try to do a Q&A. I'm not, I know, like, sure, like, I know it's certain, we're in different time zones, so it could be a difference of when everyone comes. So there may be, more questions later. But I did want to talk a little bit about imposter syndrome, and what your thoughts are on that.
So, imposter syndrome, I think, is something that most people actually experience. And about a year ago, I reached out to a, a marketing consultant who specializes in fully revamping the company's marketing plans. But I reached out to him for personal branding because at the time, you know, I don't know about you, Samantha, but I personally work with a lot of other agencies because they give you a perspective outside of the kind of bubble that you're in. So I love to reach out with other agencies. I love to reach out to other agencies or other marketing consultants because they're always going to have a slightly different angle, and I'm always learning. And I don't want it, you know, it's obviously a little bit vulnerable, I would say, because of the industry that we're in. I kind of feel like you're either an expert or you're not. And it's almost as if you are the expert, you shouldn't be reaching out for other people's advice. But I actually think it's the opposite. Those who remain an expert are those who are continually learning. Anyway, when I reached out to him about, you know, trying to push my personal brand, and I'm going to give him a quick shout out, Martin Carter. He basically said to me that, you know, everyone's going to experience some point, you know, certain points of, I don't feel good enough, or I don't feel like I've accomplished anything worthy of sharing to other people. And the point that he made was that actually those who probably would never experience it are those who are maybe at borderline sociopathic or narcissistic. And so, you know, you have this uber confidence to just say, yes, I am absolutely amazing. And I think that even some of the most successful people that I've come across, they don't have it all together, you know, like they've always gone for somebody else's opinion, you know, they will always take other people's point of view into consideration. And I find that leaders, and I quote mark leaders, those who call themselves a leader but don't actually listen, they're not a true leader. And imposter syndrome is actually just about embracing that you don't know everything, in my opinion. So I made a post a couple of months ago now, in that for every big decision that I make, I'm always consulting my senior director teams to basically say, you know, these are the possible options that we can go with. And because of my imposter syndrome, it pushes me to listen more in comparison to if I was just super confident about what my thoughts and decisions are. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely. And as you said, experts are always learning and growing.
Yeah. So I think in terms of imposter syndrome, actually just accept that this is possibly going to be a very normal sensation, especially when you come to a place of, I can't believe this is happening to me. And why would people want to listen to myself when, I've made loads and loads of mistakes? I think it doesn't matter about that. It's just about embracing your story, embracing where you are right now, being in the present of, where you are at your business, being self-aware. But the main thing is not letting it stop you from achieving what you want to achieve.
I think that is exactly what it is. I have imposter syndrome. I think, I've definitely grown to be more confident, but I
Yeah.
guess through things that occurred in life, especially recently, I feel like
Right.
it sort of affected my confidence. And I actually wanted to show some stats here that I try to find. This is from a men, and this is just saying if men and women are equally aware. This is from Lead MD, which is a pretty well-known site. In regards to them being aware of what it was. It doesn't really state whether if people, the percentage of men and women, but I do have another one. I couldn't quite find it. But this here is a survey that was done for employees in the tech field that experience imposter syndrome. I couldn't find one for marketing, but it still speaks volumes that
Wow.
with these different companies that employees, um, in most cases, over 50% suffer from imposter syndrome.
Do you think there is a link there in terms of, do you think there's an obvious trend based on the sort of companies that they work for, and is it a direct reflection of their culture?
Oh, honestly, when you said that, I started to think about that because I think large size companies, just like what we were talking about, they don't really have a culture. It's more like you just have to fit in rather
Right.
than diversity and inclusion. So it could be
Mhm.
possible because these are massive companies that they don't have the care that it takes to do
Right.
that. So being that maybe they don't have assurance or they're not being rewarded or complimented for their work to assure how well they're doing, among many other factors that could contribute to it. And work does definitely affect your mental health. I recently went through something like that, and now I'm back in therapy because of it. Like it
I
was,
remember. Yeah.
it's terrible. And so that just speaks volumes, that the fact that such a high percentage of employees for these large organizations, anonymously voted that, this percentage has suffered from this.
Wow. That's interesting.
Absolutely. And so I guess the next thing that I'd like to go over, but prior to doing that, I definitely, because I know people pop in and out.
Hmm.
Um, if you're interested in asking any questions to Rhoda, please definitely message her and connect with her on LinkedIn. You can search for her by name, and we're also going to put a link in the comments. I just don't want to deviate from this page because it's going to show other information. Um, so definitely ask your questions, even if you're on the replay. And if you want a free digital audit, that's a really, really good deal, guys, to have a company that's willing to come in and add value and show you that, hey, we're not just about trying to take your money. We want to come in and audit your business to see how we can add value. And that speaks volumes. So if you want that free audit, definitely connect with Rhoda for sure. So the next thing is, what are the advantages and disadvantages of an agency versus a consultant?
So I think that it just depends on which journey the business is in. I find that much larger companies are more willing to pay for a consultant who's generally charging quite a lot more than what they would pay an employee, right? So, there's working with an agency where you know that they are going to be working with other companies, and like we're experiencing this now where, for example, some of the clients that I'm personally working with, I'm going to have to hand them over to other team members because, it's physically impossible for me to continue working with certain accounts. And obviously, as a consultant, you're not going to get passed over like that. You're constantly going to have that kind of personable touch with that marketing consultant that's been allocated that work. So, Samantha, have you worked in other agencies, or have you always been a consultant as like your own kind of business?
Well, as a consultant, I don't even know what I am, to be honest. I just, like the last gig that I did, I was supposed to be a consultant, but it turned out it wasn't what I thought it would be. So I wind up having to build a custom CRM entirely by myself without a team, because
Wow.
there was some sort of misunderstanding, but I still wanted to be helpful because I'm kind of like you. I believe in giving value to people, and maybe they just didn't understand what they're getting into, and I figured, hey, I could just build a relationship with them. But that is something I have to learn because I don't think I really know. I know how to do a great job and for things to be amazing and to put my all into things. But as a consultant, I wouldn't say that your traditional consultant because I always find myself doing everything. But I
Yeah.
think the traditional consultant, that's exactly what it is. They're like they're just there to share thoughts and give some guidance, where an agency provides all of those things and they have team members at their disposal. So I would say an agency is great from a consulting, because agencies are still consultants, but they can do consulting and they have the ability to scale out your business. So I definitely feel with your company, Mint Marketing, that you'll not only be able to give guidance and consult companies on what they need to do, but you'll also have the team members in the pool of talent to scale out results and grow for that company. And I think that's a key difference. So you're the best of both worlds. You're an agency, but you're also definitely, like a consultant as well, because you're giving consultancy as well.
Yeah, I think certainly for smaller businesses, I'd really recommend working with an agency more so than a consultant. And I guess I think actually for smaller businesses, if they could find, um, an up and coming marketing consultant and they want to get, best value for money, as it were, it's probably better to find people like that if they can find people like that. And then, really utilize the kind of results that they might get from that person, because you're still helping each other along the way. So in the first 6 months, really, although I was babysitting, I was back doing my like massage work. when I first left the last agency I worked in. I was doing like, work for like less than minimum wage, just because I really wanted to get something to, I really wanted something that was just mine, so that I didn't have to always refer to work that I've done previously with the other agency, because it's hard to claim it as mine, as my work, even though I carried that work from start to finish. For some of the campaigns that I was working on in that company. So I felt like I had to then find my own clients and people that wouldn't say no to me. So then it was just a matter of, look, I'm not going to charge you anything. I just want you to listen to what I have to say. And 6 months time, or whenever it pays dividends for that business or for that individual, then I'm going to come back for your testimonial, or I'm going to come back for some of these nice graphs with the green numbers, sort of saying there's been an increase in traffic or whatever it might be. I think that they're actually probably the best type of consultants for smaller businesses, because they're willing to do whatever it takes to make their campaign really successful. And it's not as if they're doing it for nothing. They are still, they're still going to be delivering good work. And at the same time, they're getting something out of it, which is to be able to showcase the results of their campaign.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to go back to your website for those that are jumping in. And also, I do see a few of you guys popping in to the live. Please don't be shy and leave a comment. Say hey to Rhoda. Don't forget that you can sign up for a free digital audit, guys. That's a big deal. Here it is. You have an agency that has the expertise and the know-how to be able to look at where you're at currently in your business and how they can help you to grow. So I actually want to go back to the website, and just to remind everyone that I believe Rhoda you prefer if everyone connect with you as well, to connect directly on LinkedIn, so that way she can answer your questions. But if you want to go to the website, you can just click here on complimentary sessions here. So I do want to take a quick break and put up the brainstorming session to see if anyone has any questions. So as we play that video, I want you guys to leave your comments. Again, if you're here in the replay, you can still go on ahead and leave your questions. So the brainstorms session is going to be about 2 to 3 minutes long. So go ahead and drop your questions in the link. Okay, guys. Sorry, I think my mic might have been off this whole time. Thank you so much, guys, for dropping in. I don't see any questions just as of yet, so definitely don't be shy. If you want to, ask your questions to Rhoda, if you want to get that free digital audit for your business, definitely connect with Rhoda, and also leave your comments in the comment section below. So, Rhoda, what would you like to end this off with, or how would you like to end this off with? Is there anything else that you'd like to let us know, or and also the audience out there, again, sorry to keep saying that, but don't be shy. We want you to ask questions. So, Rhoda, what would you like to add?
um, I'm not really sure if there's any more I could say. I feel like we've covered quite a lot of different topics there. But what I would just say for businesses who don't have a marketing budget is to either get really good at marketing for your own business or create a budget for it. Because marketing is, I would say it's one of the most important things in having a business. It works alongside sales. If you don't have any business coming in, then you're not going to be able to have a business. So having your sales and marketing team, don't put the marketing department to one side as if it's just a tag along of your sales team, because that's what I find to be quite a common trend. Working with businesses, marketing is kind of like a luxury. It's not a luxury, it's absolutely a compulsory. So that's probably my last kind of message for those listening out there.
Absolutely. And for everyone that knows me, I have different type of people that connect with me, whether it be investors, people in the psychedelic and natural medicine space, technologists. If you know of anyone in your company that could use marketing, definitely reach out to Rhoda and Mint Marketing. They definitely have my endorsement. I feel comfortable with giving my endorsement to Rhoda and Mint Marketing. So definitely, and I don't give those out lightly, because I don't think I've even actually, besides other people that I've probably known a little bit longer, but I feel comfortable with giving you an endorsement. So anyone that's in my
Well, thank you so
connections,
much. Really appreciate it.
yeah. So even if your company doesn't need marketing directly, if you know of another company that might need marketing, this is a business that you want to support. I think these are very kind, generous people that have great culture, and I think businesses deserve to have a company like this support them in marketing, because it's not just like your typical agency that just wants to take your money and rip you off. This is a good company with good people, so I give my endorsement and recommendation. Now, in regards to what you said about marketing being put to the side, a lot of companies don't realize that it's probably one of the most important things. It is the most important thing, because if you don't have marketing, you're not going to be able to continue to generate business. You're not going to be able to make revenue. So it's an investment, and it should be something that should be held at high esteem, starting with the type of people and the type of company that you have leading this for you. So that being said, unless anyone has any questions, I think we're going to go ahead and end this one out. I'm pretty sure, Rhoda will be back. She's welcome anytime
Thank
to
you.
come and speak here on the platform. And I'm pretty sure we can have other interesting topics. So I'm just going to go ahead and play our little um, outro, which is not like another brainstorm session, but it's just going to be, sorry, just 1 second. Okay, yes. So, okay, guys, unless you have any other questions, we're going to go ahead and head on out. We appreciate you, and thank you so much for attending.